Thank you for joining us. This is the news at 7 on NTA International. We're live in Abuja. I'm Ruth Aguele. Let's start by bringing you the headlines. As Nigeria's Federal Executive Council ratifies Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, ECOWAS Parliament moves towards food security amid COVID-19 pandemic. As news of COVID-19 vaccine spreads, governments around the world scramble for doses. And former governor of Kaduna State, Balarabe Musa, passes on at 84. Well, a National Digital Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center is to be established in Abuja, the nation's capital, as part of efforts by the federal government towards enhancing job creation. The Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantami, announced this at a news briefing shortly after the meeting of the Federal Executive Council. We'll bring you the details of that in our subsequent bulletin. Let's still on the Federal Executive Council. Well, FEC has formally approved the ratification of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement signed by Nigeria in July last year. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, announced this while briefing journalists after the virtual meeting of the Council presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo brings us details.
It was a joyous moment of remarkable significance for African leaders at the 2019 African Union Summit in Niamey, Niger Republic, as President Muhammadu Buhari formally enlisted Nigeria, Africa's most populous country and largest economy, into the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. And with the formal ratification of the agreement by the Federal Executive Council, a major breakthrough may have been achieved by the African Union, which sees Nigeria as not only critical but indispensable if the objectives of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement are to be realized.
The effective date ought to have been July 2020, but as a result of the pandemic, it was postponed to the 1st of January 2021, and all member states were given up to the 5th of December to ratify the agreement. That's precisely what Nigeria did today. So effectively, we hope that by 1st of January 2021, the agreement will come into force.
When fully operational, the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement will be the world's largest free trade area with a potential market of 1.2 billion people and a gross domestic product of $2.5 trillion across member states of the African Union. Information Minister Lai Mohammed also announced the Council's approval of a contract for the procurement, installation and commissioning of 3D dimensional aerodrome as well as approach simulator at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos.
The contract became necessary in view of the increase in the number of personnel who have been recruited and trained for air traffic controllers. And it is important for us to ensure safety in all the 32 aerodromes of the country.
470 million naira is to be expended on the project to be delivered in 6 months. And on roads infrastructure, 62.7 billion naira has been approved by the Council for the construction of Kano, Dawakin Tofa, Gwarzo, Dai Road in Kano State to be executed in 24 months. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Let's look at other issues. Through legislation, ECOWAS Parliament is ready to support regional efforts at combating COVID-19, which is impacting agricultural production and food security in West Africa. A presentation on the status of COVID-19 pandemic in the ECOWAS region and its potential impact on development activities made to parliamentarians by the West African Health Organization indicates measures in place to contain spread of the pandemic disrupted affected agricultural production. Such measures as border closure, curfews and limited internal movements have resulted in declining food supply, malnutrition, decreased immunity and exposure to COVID-19 and other diseases. In a delocalized meeting in Bissau, Guinea-Bissau, Parliament is aggregating opinions on mitigating these challenges by advancing regional strategies for cross-border movement and food production. And to further shed light on this development and other legislations by the ECOWAS Parliament ongoing in Bissau, Guinea-Bissau, is Mr. Edwin Miller, the media advisor to the Speaker, ECOWAS Parliament. Mr. Miller is joining us via Zoom right now. Thank you very much, Mr. Miller, for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure joining you this evening.
All right, now, the theme of the delocalized meeting of the joint committees in Bissau, we hear, is agricultural production and food security in the ECOWAS region on the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, how would ECOWAS want to achieve this?
Well, basically, as you know, the Parliament is one of several institutions of ECOWAS. And of course, the Parliament felt it was important that it bring together stakeholders, active players in this fight, so as to chart on ways that Parliament can play a very pivotal role in helping the ECOWAS Commission to achieve its objective in tackling food insecurity as well as agriculture use around the region, especially as we face the COVID-19 pandemic. And so basically what the Parliament sought to do was to bring together the technocrats. We had the Director General of WAHU, we had the Director of Agriculture of the ECOWAS Commission. They all made splendid presentations today. And as you know, these presentations and these regional decisions need political will, and the politicians who largely make up the Parliament are the ones who we depend on to really enforce these things at the grassroots national levels. So the Parliament thought it was important under the speakership of His Excellency Sidi Mohammed Tunis. Parliament felt that it was very important to call together stakeholders so that they would chart on ways that the region can help to put ideas and put mechanisms together that it will be used to tackle food security as well as agriculture yield around the region.
All right, and the DG of the West African Health Organization, in his presentation to Parliament, he indicated that COVID-19 induced lockdowns around the region affected agricultural production and the movement of food. Now, from your understanding of WAHU's position, what options would you say are available for the region?
Well, there are several options. The DG also provided some recommendations that could be used to help mitigate the crisis, capacity building of our farmers, as well as improving technology. As you may be aware, the COVID-19 pandemic struck during the rainy season, and that's when the farmers usually have their peak season. So it is important that we build the capacity of our farmers. It's important that ECOWAS look at means to tackle transport mechanism for agricultural produce. As you are aware, border closures around our region is something that is still ongoing in certain areas. ECOWAS need to find a way to tackle these things. The political will, like I mentioned earlier, is also very important, and that is why the Parliament felt that it was important to bring together these stakeholders who will prevail on national government, the politicians, the decision makers at the national level, to implement some of the strategies and some of the policies that are geared towards mitigating the crisis of food insecurity in our region. So there are a lot of options available to us. Of course, our partners, international partners, are very important in this fight, and that is why Parliament is trying to seek other options to see how best we can put all hands on deck and bring together all of the stakeholders to handle these crises, so that at the end of the day, we will not go into further crisis, because it's already estimated that about 49 million of the population could face a extreme poverty and food crisis issue. So in order to avoid that, you want to act promptly. That is what Parliament is doing in Bissau right now.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Miller, for your insight on the news. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right, the appreciable level of peace experienced in Edo and Ondo governorship elections is largely attributed to the role played by the media. Acting chairman of the INEC, Ahmed Muazu, stated this in a meeting with the media in Abuja. Mia Ogidi tells us more.
This is where opinions are shaped, and for the electronic media, visuals available to back up. He who tells the story gets more facts and feedback. Those in control of the tiny pen fed millions during the Edo and Ondo governorship elections, and today having talks with INEC to advise for better performance.
The Edo and Ondo elections, the Commission must place on record, among other things, the tireless and sustained campaign by the media against electoral violence. The media not only kept the imperative of peaceful elections in the front burner, it also kept the spotlight on all political parties and their candidates throughout these elections.
INEC must at all times ensure that the votes of the people continue to count during elections. For us in the media, we will always give the necessary support.
Observations on the online portal and possible date for the conduct of outstanding 15 by-elections were part of the content of the agenda. Please, let's always be aware of fake news, because the pen, when wrongly used, can be more destructive than the gun, the INEC National Commissioners advised. Mia Ogidi, NTA News.
All right, let's go on a break. We're back shortly. Stay tuned.
Demands of #EndSARS movement. Immediate release of all arrested protesters. Justice for all deceased victims of police brutality and appropriate compensation for their families. Setting up an independent body to oversee the investigation and prosecution of all reports of police misconduct within 10 days. In line with the new Police Act, psychological evaluation and retraining to be confirmed by an independent body of all disbanded SARS officers before they can be redeployed. Increase police salary so that they are adequately compensated for protecting the lives and property of citizens. Federal government's response. On 11th October 2020, the Inspector General of Police dissolved the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS, across the 36 states police commands and the Federal Capital Territory. On October 12th, President Muhammadu Buhari addressed the nation, stating the disbanding of SARS is only the first step in our commitment to extensive police reforms. On 13th October 2020, the Inspector General of Police ordered all defunct SARS personnel to report at Force Headquarters, Abuja, for debriefing as well as psychological and medical examination. On 13th October 2020, the Presidential Panel on the Reform of SARS accepted the 5-point demand of the #EndSARS protesters. On 15th October 2020, the National Economic Council, NEC, directed the immediate establishment of state-based judicial panels of inquiry across the country to receive and investigate complaints of police brutality, related extrajudicial killings with a view to delivering justice for all victims of the dissolved SARS and other police units. State governors should immediately establish state-based special security and human rights committees to be chaired by governors in their state and to supervise the newly formed police tactical units and all other security agencies located in the state. This will ensure the protection of citizens' human rights. Members will also include representatives of youth and civil society, as well as head of police tactical units in each of the states.
I am there now. Are you sure this will work?
Pastor, I can't miss this guy's lecture. Just keep your phone on so I can listen.
Today we're going to be discussing sleep
What?
is the medical term for sleepwalking.
Sonambulism.
Right.
Get free Intel to Intel calls and experience HD quality conversations every time. Intel. Live more.
Thanks for staying tuned. Well, if you recall the report we called earlier at the start of the bulletin, where we told you a National Digital Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center is to be established in the nation's capital for job creation, is ready. And Adamu Sambo, State House correspondent, will tell us more.
The meeting, 32nd in the series for the year 2020 and 23rd to be held virtually in compliance with the COVID-19 safety advisory, deliberated extensively on the rate of joblessness in the country and the way forward. Entrepreneurship development, the Council believes, is critical towards enhancing the creation of jobs, hence the approval of a memo on the establishment of Digital Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center in Abuja in partnership with the Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
Millions of our citizens are going to be trained as entrepreneurs, particularly in ICT, so that they will be future potential employers rather than potential employees. And this center is going to be managed by the National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, while the Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy is going to provide the policy for the center, policy direction, and to supervise the implementation of the policy.
The Federal Executive Council also approved a new national policy on digital identification for internally displaced persons in Nigeria.
This digital ID will support government in knowing the total number of our IDPs, budgetary provision on how to take care of them, national planning with regards to their education, health, and many more. When it comes to social intervention being provided by federal government through the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, government will have an up-to-date record of IDPs, their number, their location, and everything, and government will reach out to them easily through that database that is going to be domiciled at the National Identity Management Commission.
It is estimated that 3 million people are internally displaced across Nigeria, with Borno State having the highest number of 1.4 million and Ondo State as the lowest with 1,024. The Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Ihanere, also secured the Council's approval for the National Health Insurance Scheme to introduce electronic medical records and management called ENHIS governance platform.
So this will be a platform for managing payments and claims and also patient records to install transparency and accountability. This is necessary because the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund, as we know, is going on stream and will include a large number of people being registered so that we'll move away from paper management to electronic management.
Although cost of the project has not been made public at the briefing, the Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Ihanere, explained that indigenous NICOMSAT and Galaxy Backbone have been contracted for its execution in view of the enormous local content benefits in job creation and data security. In the meantime, members of the council observed a moment of silence in honor of the late permanent secretary in the office of the SGF, Babatunde Lawal, who died recently. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
All right, let's bring you a global update on COVID-19. Governments around the world race to secure COVID-19 vaccine doses as Bahrain's Sheikh Khalifa, world's longest-serving prime minister, dies. Joyce Ametu brings us details.
The World Health Organization says it hopes to have a COVID-19 vaccine by the end of the year, and that Pfizer's experimental remedy is a very promising one, with more expected. Meanwhile, the European Commission said on Wednesday that it had sealed a deal with Pfizer and BioNTech for the supply of up to 300 million doses of their COVID-19 vaccine candidates. And from the United States comes a report that the country has hit a record number of coronavirus hospitalizations and surpassed 1 million new confirmed cases in the first 10 days of November. Texas has become the first U.S. state with more than 1 million confirmed COVID-19 cases. Looking at the numbers, Worldometer dashboard as at 6 p.m. local time shows that of the 52,057,802 COVID-19 cases worldwide, Africa accounts for 1,917,165 of the total caseload, while Nigeria's count has increased to 64,336 with 1,160 deaths, while 60,333 persons have recovered. Away from the pandemic, the Ethiopian Prime Minister has rejected a request for peace talks as the conflict in Tigray region deepens. Abiy Ahmed said in a tweet that there would be no dialogue until efforts to ascertain the rule of law are achieved. Meanwhile, Bahrain's Sheikh Khalifa bin Salman Al Khalifa, the world's longest-serving prime minister and staunch ally of neighboring Saudi Arabia and the United States, has died. Khalifa, 84, had served as prime minister since the Sunni Muslim-led island kingdom declared independence from Britain in 1971. The Al Khalifa family has ruled since 1783. Joyce Ometu, NTA News.
About 95% victims of trafficking rescued by the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, are female. Now, this formed the basis for specific attention to issues relating to gender in all NAPTIP's operations. Director General of the agency, Julie Okadonli, said during validation of its gender policy in Abuja. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday tells us more.
A society devoid of gender discrimination. The federal government in 2008 approved the National Gender Policy to promote full participation of women in decision-making and the elimination of violence against women. In its effort to eliminate gender discrimination, NAPTIP collaborated with UN Women to develop a gender policy that will guide and mainstream gender in all its operations.
Institutionalize gender in victim rescue, rehabilitation, protection, prosecution of offenders.
UN Women is willing and ready to work in synergy with NAPTIP and other agencies, partners, and the government of Nigeria in achieving the desired objective of this policy.
NAPTIP Director General said, following her appointment as member, Board of Trustees, United Nations Victim of Trafficking Trust Fund, it will no longer be business as usual for some non-governmental organizations.
It's very strange that NGOs had been benefiting from this fund in Nigeria, but NAPTIP was not aware. Now I would monitor, such NGOs to be sure that the funds are used for the purposes for which they are given.
The policy will also focus on preventing forced migration of women and girls in Nigeria by building resilience that will promote sustainable development. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday, NTA News.
The remains of the former governor of the defunct Kaduna State, Malam Abdul Qadir Balarabe Musa, has been committed to Mother Earth, according to Islamic injunctions. Balarabe Musa died Wednesday morning at his residence in Kaduna after a protracted illness. Suleiman Abdullahi Rugachukun reports on the life and times of the elder statesman, a politician with a distinct and clear-cut ideology, titled To the Left.
To protect political parties and political associations from the machinations of the at every level and the electoral management body at national and state levels.
A farmer and an administrator led Balarabe Musa's sojourn in politics started during the First Republic, when he pitched tent with the defunct Northern Elements Progressive Union, NEPU, as a strong and vibrant member. His posture and struggle against what he considered as infidel and for the emancipation of the Talakawas from northern oligarchy endeared him to the people.
He's a very nice man, very honest, straightforward. I know we are going to miss him a lot.
Balarabe Musa became the first civilian governor of Old Kaduna State on the platform of the defunct People's Redemption Party, PRP, in 1979, and the first civilian governor to be impeached by the state legislature, controlled by Opposition National Party of Nigeria, MPN, in 1981. Led Balarabe Musa synonymous with struggle for justice and fairness, later parted ways with his political mentor, the late Malam Aminu Kano, which led to the formation of Sans-E faction of the PRP. He was a chartered accountant and company secretary of the defunct Broadcasting Company of Northern Nigeria. Late Balarabe Musa was in the forefront in the struggle for the actualization of annulled June 12 presidential election. Before his death, he was chairman, Board of Trustees, People's Redemption Party. Suleiman Abdullahi Rigachku, NTA News.
In the meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari joins government and people of Kaduna in mourning Balarabe Musa, generally described as the voice for the voiceless. A statement from the President's Senior Special Assistant on Media and Publicity says President Buhari believes Balarabe Musa reflected the passion and vigor that heralded Nigeria's independence, which steadily translated into activism for a return to democracy at the height of military interregnum, and has remained steadfast in the call for good and inclusive governance. As the former governor goes home, the statement adds, the president affirms that Balarabe has left a bold footprint on Nigeria's democracy, and his role in promoting good governance and development will always be remembered and appreciated by posterity. President Buhari prays that the Almighty God will grant his soul eternal rest and comfort his family, friends, and associates. Similarly, President Muhammadu Buhari has condoled with the government and people of the Republic of Mali over the passing of former President Amadou Toumani Touré. The president commiserates with family of the departed Malian leader, whose 10-year reign in the country contributed to the strengthening of political institutions and measure of stability, starting with his presiding over a peaceful transition in the country as a military leader. President Buhari joins world leaders, particularly those from ECOWAS, in mourning the former president, whose wisdom and foresight also impacted greatly on the West Coast, as he always advocated dialogue over conflict and believed strongly in the African voice. A statement from the President's Senior Special Advisor on Media and Publicity says President Buhari prays for the repose of the soul of the former Malian leader. Let's find out how tomorrow's weather will fare. All right, and before we go, remember, always connect with NTA by standing against rape and rapists. I'm Ruth Aguela. Bye.
You can follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online. Or visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop, or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rich.
Do you know that social media is not good or bad, and that it is you who is using it that is either good or bad? Bad social media users spread rumors and fake news without verification. But good social media users stop, verify the information, and reflect before sharing it. Now, are you a good social media user? Stop the spread of fake news. Verify the authenticity of your source for a better Nigeria.
This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of NYSC Half Hour. I am Nkem Okwogu. The continued support of state government is critical to the smooth operation of the NYSC scheme. While the federal government shoulders a greater part of the responsibility of running the scheme, the enabling act saddled states and local governments with the complementary responsibilities. This includes the provision of facilities and other forms of interventions that are essential to the welfare of core members and the general success of the scheme. Don't miss today's episode. We will be right back. On the news today, the Director General of the National Youth Service Corps joined other eminent Nigerians to pay tribute to late Precious Ayola Owolabi for his diligence and patriotic zeal during his service year. Ex-corps member Ayola was killed in July 2019 while on official assignment during the protest by members of the Islamic movement of Nigeria. Speaking during the 22nd posthumous birthday and launching of a book titled 3 Minutes to Midnight and Other Plays in memories of late Ayola, Brigadier General Shuaibu Ibrahim described him as a patriotic youth whose passion for hard work and commendable interpersonal relations marked him out as a core member that truly believed in the essence of service. In a bid to stepping up preventive measures to ensure that all core members and camp officials are safe against the dreaded COVID-19 during the NYSC orientation course exercise, Corps engineers have fabricated and presented to the state coordinator a sample collection booth. Presenting the item to the state coordinator at the secretariat, the leader of the group, Corps member Emmanuel Dennis Odo, said that the challenge was thrown to them by the state coordinator and they braced up to it. The state coordinator, Mrs. Bamai Mercy, appreciated the Corps members for a work well done, and the booth has been mounted at the NYSC Ebonyi Orientation Camp, Afikpo. Welcome back. On today's episode, we highlight the activities of the Delta State government in supporting the scheme in achieving its objective and enhancing the smooth operation of the scheme's activities in the state. Let's take a look.
Youths obey the clarion call. Let us lift our nation high, under the sun or in the rain, with dedication and selflessness. Nigerians.
Corps members have been very active and all over the place, especially in terms of their activities in community development services. They've been involved in planting trees, involved in doing extramural lessons for students. There's a particular project that is being carried out at Idumujeno, is a community very close to the NYSC orientation camp. The Corps members, with the help of the community, were able to establish an ICT center where they train members of the community, and also the community in return built a copper slot for them.
Youths obey the clarion call.
You look at our secondary school, we have only one secondary school, and we all know that there's a dearth of teachers. And we fall back very much on the NYSC to help us, particularly in the areas of sciences, where we lack teachers. And they've been up and doing. If not for the copper, it came to a point about 2 years ago, we couldn't have people sitting for the exam because there were no teachers. But I had to get into an agreement with the coppers to agree to help us out, and they have not failed us. The Infotech Center and the Coppers Lodge, it is the coppers that run the Infotech center. I give it to them that without them, we wouldn't be able to run that.
Here we are in Idumujuno community of Anocha North Local Government, Delta State, where we are being posted for our National Youth Service Corps. And so far in this community, we've been having a great time because the people here in this community are very nice people, very hospitable and accommodating. They have been showing us utmost love with us being core members here in the society. And also,